Zoho announced the public release of Zoho CRM's CPQ features. Zoho CRM's voice of the customer AI features are free for everyone over the next 6 months. And in Zoho CRM, you can now trigger a workflow rule when a customer mentions your competitors. We'll be covering all of this and more of Zoho's newsworthy announcements. Zoho launched CPQ for Zoho CRM, and they are describing it as an inbuilt solution for bespoke quote management. And what does this actually mean for you? So, if you are either in manufacturing, technology, wholesale, or if you are in any industry or organization that has a complex offering of products and services, meaning most likely you have quite a bit that you offer someone when you sell them something, then CPQ is for you. So, it's especially valuable when you have multiple product lines or service categories which involve dynamic pricing. So, a couple things we're going to cover with this announcement. So, first and foremost, this has been out for quite a bit for beta testing, but now it's being released to absolutely everybody. So, everyone's going to have access to configure, price, quote functionality. So, one of the things that you can do here is the product configurator and price rules. So, let's take the example that Zoho gives us here with Zilker watches. So, let's say that you offer a wristwatch set for free every time someone buys one of your expensive wall clocks. Well, you can actually use CPQ to add that additional line item to a quote when you are building a quote out for a customer. So that's helpful to have automations like that. You've got dynamic quantity update for automated line items. So let's say with the wall clock, even if they purchase three wall clocks, you still want the absolute value for the um, for your wristwatch set to be one. You only want to offer one wristwatch set for whatever amount of wall clocks someone orders. You don't want it to be one for one. So if someone buys five wall clocks, you don't want to offer five free wristwatch sets. You just want to do one. Well, you can actually set that quantity to absolutely one. All right, another feature here with CPQ that's worth highlighting is CPQ rules for custom modules and subforms. So while beta testing, most of the time, this was just available in the quotes module when you were building out a quote, but now this is available for you in custom modules and subforms. So something to highlight there. Finally, we have guided selling, which I think is the most interesting of the features here, which allows you to essentially ask a series of questions to the user of Zoho CRM to guide them through the different products that should be in the quote. So I'll give you an example here. We're going to pull up this video and I'll show you exactly how this works. So if someone fills this out and they go to the quote, they can go over to guided selling here. Then when they jump into the quote or into the guided selling section, ask them a series of questions, right? So does the customer want waterproof options? If the product waterproof is selected yes, then it's going to make a final recommendation at the end of these questions being answered. Let's skip to the end here to show you that it filters the product option. So this is especially useful if you have lots of different items that you offer and you have a discussion with a certain prospective customer and they are and you basically ask these questions to them, or if you know it from the previous discussion you have, then when you go into the quote, you can filter down your options so that you're not seeing hundreds and hundreds of different SKUs, but you can just see the products that are relevant to the discussion you had with a prospective customer. So that is another feature of CPQ there. So important things to understand here that are down on the roadmap for CPQ is sandbox support. You will be able to set up product configurations and price rules for sandbox before deploying them to development. This is tentative, end of the quarter, end of the second quarter of this year. Hopefully, this feature is available by that time. And then another item on the roadmap, you will be able to build guided selling for custom modules aside from quotes. Excited for that. Looking at the end of quarter three for that feature to be rolled out. So those are tentative release dates, but it's something worth noting there. All right, we've got unlocking customer insights everywhere. voice of the customer feature is now open to all. Okay, so if you're not familiar with voice of the customer, essentially what Zoho is doing is they are plugging into multiple data sources across Zoho CRM. So you can see here you've got email conversations, surveys, social media channels, notes, calls, and help desk channels. And they're essentially analyzing the sentiment of all the interactions and the communications that you are having with a customer or prospective customer. So, what that allows for you is a couple of different things. Number one, you can build reports on sentiment analysis. You can see here, these are negative, these are positive. So, those are things to note as well. Something else that I want to make you aware of for Voice of Customer, it's going to be available for free for 6 months starting today. So during this time, you have unrestricted access to Voice of Customer's insights and capabilities. After the 6 month trial period, it's going to be a paid feature, and they're going to release details for that later on. They don't have them quite yet. Now, I want to go over one of the use cases for Voice of the Customer so you can get an idea of how this would actually be useful to you. So, with a feature called churn prediction, which is a feature in Zoho that shows you how likely you are to lose a customer. Instead of just having a percentage, now they plug into voice a customer to see the different factors to give you a rundown of why someone would potentially why you would potentially lose a customer. And so you can see this breakdown inducing factors: poor service quality, competitive offers from competitors. Well, one of the data layers that Zoho is looking at when it makes this inducing factors list and assigns percentages is it looks at voice of customer data. So this is actually an announcement here for Zia's churn prediction that I spoke about in the last video that I did here for Zoho News. But you can see they are plugging into voice of customer data to enhance this feature. So that's one of the use cases for voice of customer. All right, we got leverage competitor mention in workflow rules inside of Zoho CRM. And the idea here is there is a new trigger. So if you're not too familiar with workflow rules, you've got three things you want to worry about when you're building out a workflow rule. And one of those things is optional. So when you build a workflow rule, the three components are first, a trigger, second, a condition or filter, and then third, an action. What do you actually want to do with this functionality, with this workflow rule? And so what we're seeing here is in addition to the first part or component of a workflow rule, which is the trigger, the when. And so now there's a new trigger for when competitor is mentioned. You can send yourself an email as a sales manager, as an example, you might want to get an email every time a competitor is mentioned in a conversation with a customer. That way you're aware of what people are saying about your competitors. So that's just an example, but you can see the different use cases for actually using this as a trigger as you have different situations arise in your organization. So this is a nice new feature here within Zoho workflow rules to be able to monitor when competitors are being mentioned in various conversations. Now, the question I have when I look at this is how are you going to designate your different competitors, and how is Zoho going to know when a competitor is mentioned? Do you have to build a list somewhere? I don't believe this is detailed out quite yet on how you define the trigger competitor is mentioned, but this is something I will expect them to detail out so that we can take full advantage of this feature. So um, realize that they have now, keep in mind that they've announced that this new feature is available for workflow rules to trigger when a competitor is mentioned. All right, we got updates for Zoho Marketing Automation 2.0, product recommendation, RSS campaigns, and cyclical campaigns, and more, something like that. All right. New set of updates. So, number one, product recommendation. This feature is mainly for marketers who have connected their Shopify or Zoho Commerce stores with Zoho Marketing Automation. Our AI powered platform examines your customers' past purchases and in store interactions. This lets you customize product recommendations for individual customers and use them in your emails. Simply drag and drop the component below. All right, so essentially, when you're sending out an email, you can have this dynamic product recommendations. It's AI powered. And so when you send out an email, it's going to be dynamic based on the behavior of a contact that you've collected information for inside of marketing automation, which is an application inside of Zoho. So you've got that available to you. You can select most popular, recently added. You can determine what products are going to be recommended generally. RSS campaign. We have reintroduced RSS campaigns in Zoho Marketing Automation. The RSS campaign is an easy way to share and view the website updates without visiting the website. This is done by sending automated campaigns to your contacts when there's an update in the site. Typically, an item in an RSS campaign will contain a title, concise description, and link to the original content of the website. Cool. So this is a dynamic list of changes that have happened on the website. Maybe you're adding blogs. This RSS feed will populate on the email, allowing different recipients of that email to see what's going on your site. Cool little update there. Send follow-up campaign. Marketers can now effortlessly send follow-up campaigns from the original campaigns, which is the click of a button. You need not duplicate the campaign and fetch the list to execute follow-up campaigns. Instead, you can directly send follow-ups from the main campaign itself, iterate content, and monitor campaign performance. So cool, you can just go into a campaign, see who opened, unopened, and you can send emails directly to different recipients who interacted with your email. So you can bucket that appropriately and then just send out a communication based on how they responded or interacted with an email that you sent. Let's see if I can say this. Cyclic trigger. We have introduced cyclic triggers in Journey module. This time-based trigger is used to start a journey when contacts who join your mailing list meet the requirements on a daily, weekly, monthly, or annual basis. This trigger will not be scheduled subsequent to the journey's activation, and it will reset upon journey freezing. The workflow will restart when you reactivate it. It won't carry over from where it was stopped. All right, we got webhook here. The journeys are equipped with webhooks now. Marketers can now configure webhooks for your mailing lists and campaigns. You can extract real-time data, including subscribes, unsubscribes, dates, and times campaigns were sent or delivered. Configure the time interval that you want to get an update in and set the date requirement as parameters while creating a webhook. So this is awesome. What it's describing here, if you're not familiar with webhooks, is essentially the ability to post a webhook. And really, when you post a webhook, it's a automated way of submitting a URL. But when you submit that URL, you can add different parameters. As you can see here, here's the fields that you're selecting, and you can send different communications to other systems. So webhooks allow you to either extract real-time data or push data over to another system. Public sender address restriction for Gmail announcements. In line with the recent Google and Yahoo authentication measures, email sent with gmail.com as the sender will be quarantined by recipient servers. All right, I've kind of exhausted this topic. If you are not on a custom email domain, you need to move over to it and get it authenticated and verified. If not, and you're using Gmail, then you are going to have an issue there with sending emails. So make sure that you move over to a custom one there. All right, new features rolled out on February 26, 2024. This is for Zoho Analytics. So Pipedrive, if you are a user of Pipedrive and a user of Zoho Analytics, which many of you won't be because you have two options for Pipedrive, Zoho CRM, and then you have Biggin, which is a Pipedrive-like product made by Zoho. It's a simplified CRM. That's essentially what Pipedrive is. Now you can seamlessly import Pipedrive data into Zoho Analytics with a pre-built connector. You got white label CSS customization in Zoho Analytics. So if you want to pretty it up and you're doing a white label version of Zoho Analytics, now you have the capability to do that. You got Power BI in Portal. You can now embed Power BI reports to create unified portals for your organization's business needs. Having a unified portal improves collaboration, promotes centralized accessibility, and makes it easy for C-level executives to make robust business decisions. Inline text editor in dashboard. Now you can click on text, a text box will pop up, and then you can just click an image, throw it in, and you can do that inline the dashboard, which is really helpful. So I think previously when you clicked on this, it would like pop open and you had to go configure it and then add it as like a component or something. Now it's just more user-friendly. You just click on text and you can just write it out right on the dashboard. Really cool if you want to add like a banner image to the dashboard with your logo on it. That can be pretty cool. Date in string data types in aggregate formula. We are excited to announce that Zoho Analytics now supports the date in plain text as return data types in aggregate functions. This improvement proves immensely beneficial in scenarios such as cohort analysis, project milestone tracking, and various other use cases. So excited to have some date and string types in aggregate formula there. Enhancement in drill function. Okay, so if you're trying to drill down in data, this is for you. We are excited to announce Zoho Analytics now allows you to customize the drill functions for the measure columns. You can now allow the users to alter the scale type of the report and apply window functions to measure columns. Renaming columns in query table. Zoho Analytics now allows you to rename columns in query tables even if they have dependent views or query tables over them. Previously, this was permitted only to columns without any dependencies. Vertical line removal in pivot table. Zoho Analytics introduces vertical line removal in pivot tables, helping to enhance the readability and clarity of reports like financial statements or more insightful data analysis experience. Really helpful to be able to remove vertical columns, especially when you're building out a pivot. That can be really annoying to have to do that in layers. So nice that you can change those up. And that's it for Zoho Analytics. All right, in Zoho Writer's built-in citation and bibliography generator. Do you manually format citations and bibliographies, spending hours jumping between apps and tabs? If so, check out Zoho Writer's built-in citations and bibliography feature. Imagine you are writing a thesis on the future of sustainable energy, citing a number of articles, books, and websites, but you dread manually formatting all those citations. With Zoho Writer's citation generator at your disposal, your job is now a breeze. Cool. So essentially, now Zoho Writer gives you a citation generator so you don't have to do it yourself. Looks through the text, finds the different references that you have to other material, and builds the citation for you. So if you need to switch between APA, MLA, or Chicago style, Zoho Writer can now do that with Zoho Writer's built-in citation and bibliography generator. Attention, modification to the Get Agent API. This is for Zoho Desk. So they are changing the Get Agent API in Zoho Desk. Currently, when the Manage Agents toggle is disabled under profile permissions in the Zoho Desk portal UI, users would not be able to view the list of agents or their profile information. However, some meta information such as profile pictures, agent names, and email addresses remain accessible in certain other areas. Okay, so new behavior. To address this, we are implementing a fix that restricts specific field details, excluding meta information and API responses triggered from agent accounts. Okay, so if you're tapping into this API in Zoho Desk, you're most likely not, but if you are, just realize that there's no restricted fields and supported fields. So they hid some of the meta information, included some of the other information for the Get Agent API in Zoho Desk. Function number 43. If you don't know, Zoho likes to share functions with you so that you can take advantage of custom functionality inside of Zoho Books. So in this different function share, this function can automate your everyday accounting tasks and improve productivity. Zoho Books now, the customer portal in Zoho Books serves as a platform for your customers. Let's see the prereqs for using this. Let's read this. This function will automatically enable portal access and send the portal invitation to the customer's primary email address when the first quote is created and sent. Cool. So essentially what this code allows is if you are using a customer portal, which allows external members of your, or different people that you're working with, right? Your customers, you can allow them access to your system without giving them a Zoho license and having to pay on a per user per month basis for a Zoho license. So what you can do now is use this function to send them an invite every time you send out your first quote. That way you don't have to do it manually and go in and add somebody. It just automatically happens for you. So if you desire this functionality, you just need to create a connection called ZBooks. Make sure that the correct connections are in place there. That way you can go in and add the custom function. And here's the GitHub link if you want to check that out. They give a brief description and then they break down the function for you so you can copy and paste it into your system. All right, sliding forward to Zoho Recruit. Your work safeguarded every minute with auto draft. We're excited to announce that Zoho Recruit now has save and draft features to help you hire uninterrupted. Keep reading to learn more about how this nifty addition can save you time. What is the save and draft feature? The save and draft capability allows you to save any record like job openings, candidates, interviews, departments, etc., custom modules as a draft directly within Zoho Recruit. So essentially, it prevents lost work. This is what AutoDraft does for you. It's more efficient, enhanced clarity, and flexibility to build records over time. So auto saves for you so you can come back to the record. You don't have to create the record all in one go. It's going to save for you and draft it, which is great. So sometimes you're not able to build this out all in one go on this record. You don't want to have to go save it in a separate document and then come back. You want to be able to add some information to the record, save it, and come back to it. This is cool. You can't do that in Zoho CRM, but you can just save it unfinished and then come back to it. So nice little update there. Free live webinar. Transform your digital workspace with Zoho Workspace and Zoho Sign. So if you want to join this webinar, here's some of the details for it. We're excited to announce the live webinar, Transforming Your Digital Work Experience with Zoho Workplace Apps and Zoho Sign integration. So here's the details. Let's see how it is in the US. Okay, 10:30 a.m. GMT. Yeah, if you want to join this, it's on the 28th. Looks like this already happened. So if you want to watch the recording, then you can go find the recording link for this webinar on Zoho Workplace and Zoho Sign. Free webinar alert, that again was on the 28th, so you can find the recording link for that and check out that webinar. Introducing Zoho CRM GraphQL APIs, our next frontier. So essentially what this allows you to do is they give like this whole sandwich shop analogy, and I'm just going to give it to you straight. When you use an API in Zoho CRM, you send a URL to help Zoho understand what information you want to get back. You want a certain response. That response is locked. They're going to give you all the information associated with the endpoint that you hit. Now with GraphQL, you can designate what parts of the data you want to bring over. So instead of bringing over all the information, you can say, I want this, this, and this, and then the response will only contain that information. So interesting capability here, can be helpful when you're getting quite a bit of information in code and you know exactly what you want. Here's a GraphQL example. It just helps you designate what information you want from a JSON response when you're making an API call. Tip and tricks: make your chatbot personal with Criteria Router. Everyone ever wished that your bot understood? Have you ever wished for a bot that understands your visitors' needs and acts accordingly? We got you. Meet Criteria Router Card, your ticket to an intelligent, customer-centric bot without breaking a sweat or code. Let's sprinkle some magic on your chatbot game. This text is so funny. Let's take an e-commerce store that sells shirts. By input cards, know what the user wants and save them in the context variable. Cool. So essentially the criteria router just has different criteria that it collects and then it routes them to certain parts of the conversation. So you can see here's a criteria router card, trousers. It's going to more intuitively have a conversation with your customer based on how they interacted with the chatbot. So it just makes it smarter and more tailored to the interactions that it's having with the customer. Zoho CRM Digest, January 2024. So they do a monthly roundup at Zoho for different applications. They call it a digest. We've gone over a lot of these features already, so I'm not going to go over them now. But if you want it in a concise summary on a month-to-month basis, you've got it here with Community Digest. Zoho Creator free webinar application development bootcamp 1.0 3-day series. Cool. So they're doing a series here for Zoho Creator, essentially showing you how to use the application from the ground up. If you don't know too much about Zoho Creator, it's essentially a low-code custom application builder. So if you have none of the other apps in Zoho can do something that you're wanting to do, you can use Creator to build a custom application. Now, I can't say the name here, but this announcement was made by this person here on the free webinar 3-day series. So the schedule is dates 19, 20, and 21st of March, 2024. It's an hour a day. So if you want to check that out and you want to wise up in Zoho Creator so you can take further advantage of Zoho Creator as a low-code application builder, go ahead and check out the different times here and join this 3-day series webinar. So with that, thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in additional training than what I have on YouTube, go ahead and check out Z Training. It's the free training that I have created. It's available to you to help you and your team get trained up in Zoho in just 5 days. So go ahead and check out Z Training to learn how to implement Zoho and how to get trained at a basic level on using Zoho CRM in the best way possible.